Hi everybody, thanks so much for clicking on this video. I'm Amy, and if you're new here, you are joining this series of self-development in 10 minutes or less. And I'll be honest with you, I nearly didn't film this video because it just started raining outside. But I thought to myself, who knows, maybe if you do hear the sounds of the storm outside, it'll be a nice and calming ambience to have as you listen to what I'll talk about. So today I thought that I would speak about how you can build more self-awareness or work on the skill of having more self-awareness, because in all honesty, a good sense of self-awareness is really the root of any great achievement you'll ever have or any sort of growth that you do have, because it's really impossible to actually grow or improve in any way, shape, or form if you don't have a good idea where you currently are and where you actually want to be and why. And all of those things come from having a good sense of self-awareness. So I'll share 3 ways that you can build more self-awareness. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. It's pretty simple, but have your own reflective practice. Now, if journaling isn't really for you, it does not have to be journaling. A reflective practice can look very different depending on the person. If you like to go for a drive and reflect, if you like to go for a walk and reflect, if you like to go for a swim and reflect or have a bath, whatever it is, just be able to create a space for yourself to think and actually have the space for self-awareness. Because if you have no time to reflect and think about these things to be able to build your self-awareness, you're just never going to have the time and you're never going to be able to practice this skill. So having a reflective practice is probably the first step, and the other 2 skills that I'll share will actually be part of this. So this in a way is the first thing, and the other 2 will rely on this. The second part of this is really understanding, highlighting, underlining in your mind that your self-awareness that you are going to work on and your reflective practice that you are going to set up for yourself is not about being overly critical. It's not about pinpointing absolutely everything you do wrong and berating yourself for it and just shining a magnifying glass on everything you do that you don't like. That's not the point of being self-aware. And in fact, I really encourage you to approach your reflective practice, and as you build your self-awareness, to have a sense of curiosity. Don't judge yourself, just be curious about what there might be to learn about you, because you want to learn about you and you want to be able to know yourself really well, even if there's interesting peculiarities that come from that, even if you find that you have a trigger that you add to all the other things that you are triggered by. We are all human, we all have these. By not being aware of it doesn't mean it's not there, but by being aware of it, it doesn't mean that you should punish yourself for all the ways that you are human. If you find that this is something that you struggle with, please can you start here? Please start here on working on the relationship between you and being able to say, like with a broad chest and wholeheartedly, that you are valuable and you are worthy, and any mistake or emotion or overreaction that might rise to the surface does not take away from who you are and what your worth is. It's just something to learn. Now, the third part of self-awareness that I want to talk about, and this is the very cool, interesting part, is being willing to actually unpack difficult emotions or situations or times when you haven't been your best. The thing about self-awareness is that it's really useful when you take notice and you reflect on times when you maybe overreacted, you experienced a lot of frustration or anger, or you did something that was really weird and out of character. These are things that we do and we want to forget about and pretend that it never happened. But when you have your reflective practice, you have a space to think about those things, you ask yourself, what was something that stood out to me recently? Oh, I acted kind of strangely in this one scenario, then you're not going to have judgment for yourself. You're not going to sit there and spend your whole reflective practice thinking about why you're a terrible person and why that was the worst thing you could have done. You approach it with a sense of curiosity and just literally ask yourself, why? Why did I respond in that way that was pretty unusual and not regularly how I respond to things? I do this and I have found that every single time I have acted out of character or I've experienced a lot of frustration or a lot of irritability, and I've just asked myself, why? Why is this person or situation bringing this out of me? Then I've actually come to learn something really important, because more often than not, what brings out those emotions in us, it could be a person, a situation, a job, whatever it is, as much as those are external things, it's often just reflecting some sort of friction within you. And that's when self-awareness becomes something that actually enriches your life and helps you grow so much as a person, because you understand yourself so well. You understand that that certain thing triggered you, and what can it teach you about yourself? What can you take forward? This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you'll never overreact. It just means that you have a greater understanding of why these things happen, what's beneath it, and how you can be better. Not perfect, but better. So there you have it. 3 steps or ways that you can build more self-awareness. And I so believe in the power of self-awareness. It is literally the foundation to any growth you'll achieve, because it's really hard to achieve anything without knowing where you're currently at, what your strengths are, and where gaps or areas for growth might be. You might even not know where to grow if you're not fully self-aware. And also for me, it has really deepened the relationship between me and me. It's helped me to actually be aware of when the inner child in me comes out, or when things make me feel very vulnerable, or when things make me feel very threatened and I don't understand it at first, but through my reflective practice, like I've mentioned, I'm able to unpack those things. So remember, just leading into that, a recap. The first one is to have a reflective practice, because we don't naturally have spaces in our lives unless you go to therapy or coaching or something like that. We don't usually have spaces in our lives where we can actually reflect on things that have happened. So you have to be intentional about it and create the space and time for yourself. Then the second one is, building more self-awareness does not mean becoming more self-critical. That is not what it's about. As I've said, this has helped me to have more grace with myself, because you understand why you do what you do. Nobody has weird reactions to things because they want to be weird. There's usually something behind it. So value yourself enough to be curious about that, and don't judge yourself. We are all human, and the more that you actually are honest with yourself about that, the more that you'll be able to let go of mistakes that you make. And then the third one is to be willing to unpack those mistakes or difficult emotions or weird reactions. Look into them, because it's those peculiarities or moments where you got really angry or frustrated that you'll likely find the biggest insights, because behind that is something about you that maybe you need to look into and learn a little bit more. So be willing to unpack those and do it from a place of curiosity, not because you want to sort of punish yourself. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know what you found useful from it. Let me know if you have any other ways to build your own self-awareness and what self-awareness has brought you. As always, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It really helps me reach more people, and that is ultimately my goal, is just to help people learn things so that they can improve the relationships with themselves and grow in all the ways they wish to. Thank you. I'll see you next time.